What is kufr in Islam? In Islam, kufr signifies disbelief, a rejection of Allah's commands, and a refusal to acknowledge the truth of the Islamic message. It encompasses both disbelief in one's heart and expressing it through words or actions. Kufr can manifest as a general rejection of Islamic principles, or more specifically as disbelief in a particular belief or practice. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Meaning: kufr, in Arabic, literally means covering or concealing. In a religious context, it implies a covering of the truth, a hiding of belief. Scope: kufr can range from minor offenses, like ingratitude towards Allah's blessings, kufr al-anma, to major acts of disbelief that negate one's faith. Here's a more detailed look at the scope of kufr. 1. Disbelief in core Islamic beliefs. This includes denying the existence of Allah, the oneness of Allah, Tawhid, the prophets, the Quran, the afterlife, or the angels. Any disbelief in these fundamental tenets constitutes kufr. 2. Violation of religious obligations. Kufr can also be found in the rejection of or failure to fulfill core Islamic obligations, such as prayer, salah, charity, zakat, fasting, psalm, or pilgrimage, hajj. Some consider this type of kufr to be kufr al-juhud, where someone outwardly acknowledges the truth but rejects it in practice. 3. Engaging in actions contrary to Islamic teachings. This includes actions like associating partners with Allah, shirk, idol worship, or using magic and sorcery. Even actions that outwardly appear friendly or beneficial, but secretly betray Islamic teachings can be considered kufr. 4. Refusal to accept truth and rejection of divine guidance. Kufr can also be found in the intentional refusal to accept the truth or to reject the guidance offered by Allah through the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. This involves choosing falsehood and kufr over the truth and faith. 5. Kufr and leadership. The concept of kufr is also relevant in the context of leadership, with verses in the Quran cautioning against choosing leaders who are not just in their actions and decisions. This does not necessarily mean that non-Muslims cannot be leaders, but that their actions and decisions should be guided by principles of justice and equity, as prescribed by Islam. Causes. Kufr can stem from various factors, including arrogance, ignorance, or following personal desires. Kufr, meaning disbelief or rejection in Islam, is characterized by denying or rejecting the existence of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or any of the core tenets of Islam. It can manifest through words, actions, or beliefs that contradict Islamic teachings. Here's a more detailed look at the characteristics of kufr. Internal characteristics of kufr. 1. Pride, kibr, refusal to submit to Allah, often due to an inflated sense of self-importance. 2. Envy, hasad, jealousy towards those who are favored by Allah, preventing one from accepting good advice. 3. Anger, difficulty in being just and fair, often driven by anger and resentment. 4. Desires, shahwa, following worldly desires and pleasures over the commands of Allah. 5. Rejection of the truth, a fundamental denial of the core beliefs of Islam, either through deliberate ignorance or active rejection. External characteristics of kufr. 1. Actions. Engaging in behaviors that contradict Islamic teachings, such as engaging in shirk, associating partners with Allah, or refusing to pray. 2. Speech. Denying or mocking Islamic beliefs, or using blasphemous language. 3. Hypocrisy, nifaq. Pretending to be a believer while secretly disbelieving, often associated with actions that undermine the community. 4. Stubbornness, inad. Refusing to accept the truth even when presented with evidence. 5. Avoidance, irad. Turning away from the truth and avoiding knowledge about Islam. The nature of kufr. Kufr can manifest in various forms, including outright denial, arrogance, doubt, and hypocritical disbelief. Here's a more detailed look at the nature of kufr. 1. Disbelief and rejection. Denial. Kufr involves denying the existence of Allah, His oneness, Tawhid, or the truth of the Prophet Muhammad's peace be upon him message. Rejection. It also includes rejecting any of the teachings or commands of Allah, whether through action, words, or internal thoughts. 2. Manifestations of kufr. Kufri, akdi, disbelief of the heart. This refers to disbelief in the core tenets of Islam, such as the oneness of Allah, His prophets, and the afterlife. Kufri amali, disbelief of actions. This involves outwardly performing actions that are contradictory to the principles of Islam, such as idolatry or denying the Prophet's teachings. Kufri nifaq, hypocritical disbelief. This involves outwardly appearing to be a believer while secretly harboring disbelief or doubts. Pride and arrogance. Pride can lead to refusing to submit to Allah's commands and believing oneself to be above His laws. Anger and resentment. These emotions can cloud judgment and prevent one from accepting truth or acting justly. Unchecked desires. These can lead to prioritizing worldly pleasures over spiritual matters and rejecting the path of faith. 3. Consequences of kufr. Exclusion from the faith. Kufr can lead to being excluded from the community of believers and facing spiritual consequences in the afterlife. Loss of guidance. It can result in a lack of guidance and a wandering path, as kufr prevents one from finding truth and clarity. Types of kufr disbelief. Kufr, or disbelief in Islam, is generally divided into two main types: kufr al-akbar, major disbelief, and kufr asghar, minor disbelief. Major disbelief is considered a break from the Islamic faith, while minor disbelief is not necessarily considered a break, but can lead to negative consequences. Major kufr, kufr al-akbar. 1. Kufr of denial, kufr ut taktib, denying the truth of Islam, including its core tenets and prophets. 2. Kufr of deviation, kufr al-ilhad, abandoning Islam and adopting a lifestyle that contradicts its teachings. 3. Kufr of association, kufr ash-shirk, associating partners with Allah, a core principle of Islam. 4. Kufr of rejection, kufr al-inkar, rejecting a specific part of the Islamic faith, such as a commandment or an attribute of Allah. 5. Kufr of doubt, Kufr ash-shak, having doubts about the truth of Islam or its core beliefs. 6. Kufr of mockery. Kufr al-istihza was sakriya, mocking or making fun of Islamic teachings or practices. 7. Kufr of hypocrisy. Kufr an-nifaq, pretending to believe in Islam while harboring disbelief in the heart. 8. Kufr of pridefulness and rejection. Kufr al-iba wal istikbar, refusing to submit to Allah out of pride or arrogance. 9. Kufr of opposition. Kufr al-anad, stubbornly refusing to accept the truth of Islam. 10. Kufr of heresy. Kufr zandaka, promoting beliefs that contradict Islamic teachings and are considered heretical. 11. Kufr of companionship to the enemies of Islam. Kufr ul-muwala li'adil Islam, supporting or aligning oneself with enemies of Islam. 12. Kufr of apostasy. Kufr urida, leaving Islam after being a Muslim. 13. Kufr of astrology and magic. Kufr al-munajamin was Sahara, believing in the claims of astrologers and sorcerers. Minor kufr. Kufr asghar. 1. Disbelief due to stubbornness or rejection of commands, refusing to obey Allah's commands due to stubbornness or a lack of respect for them. 2. Disbelief due to detesting commands, hating or disliking Allah's commands. 3. Kufr of the heart. Kufr bil-i'tiqad, disbelief in one's heart, even if one outwardly professes faith. 4. Kufr expressed through words. Kufr bil-qawl, denying or blaspheming against Islam. 5. Kufr expressed through actions. Kufr bil-fi'l, engaging in actions that are considered disbelief, such as idol worship or apostasy. In essence, kufr is the antithesis of Islam, representing a lack of faith, submission, and gratitude towards Allah. Consequences. Kufr has significant consequences in Islamic belief, potentially leading to a separation from the path of faith and eternal punishment in the afterlife. In Islamic theology, the consequences of kufr, disbelief or denial of faith, are severe. It leads to a rejection of Allah's commands and prohibitions, ultimately resulting in punishment in the afterlife and a loss of both worldly and eternal blessings. Kufr can manifest in different forms, including rejecting the messenger, permitting what is forbidden, or turning away from the truth, and can lead to a person's exclusion from the mercy and protection of Allah. Here's a more detailed look at the consequences. 1. Eternal punishment in the hereafter. The most significant consequence of kufr is eternal punishment in hellfire, Jahannam. The Quran and Sunnah, Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him, teachings clearly state that those who disbelieve will face a harsh and eternal torment. This punishment is a consequence of rejecting the truth and disobeying Allah's commands, signifying a complete separation from His mercy and grace. 2. Loss of worldly blessings. Kufr can also result in the loss of worldly blessings and prosperity. Disobedience and rejection of Allah's guidance can lead to hardship, misfortune, and a lack of success in this life. Individuals who prioritize their own desires and reject the path of faith may experience a diminished quality of life. 3. Separation from the mercy of Allah. Those who commit kufr are estranged from the love, mercy, and guidance of Allah. They lose the potential for spiritual growth, inner peace, and connection with the divine. 4. Social isolation and mistrust. When kufr is translated as unbelievers, it can lead to mistrust and alienation between Muslims and non-Muslims, as well as a perception of hostility and intolerance. 5. Disruption of social order. If kufr is interpreted as a rejection of the fundamental principles of Islam, it can lead to social unrest and conflict. Examples. Kufr can manifest in various ways, including 1. Openly denying the existence of Allah or the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. 2. Rejecting the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah. 3. Making idols or worshipping other entities besides Allah. 4. Following whims and desires over the commands of Allah. 5. Spreading falsehoods and spreading disbelief among Muslims.